There is never a reason to turn down economic growth. There is never a reason to turn down more infrastructure, more schools, more hospitals being built. There is never a reason why you should turn down an offer where people can have a much better work environment, especially in a place that is heavily associated with mining earth minerals, which have intense labor and exploitation. These are all of the reasons why you must support affirming. Okay, I'm going to do a few things in my speech. I'm going to first go through the setup, which includes our model and characterization. Then I'm going to explain why we get more economic growth. And then I'm going to explain our second substantive, which is why we have decreased exploitation. So let's look at the model. What do you consider processing and the factories? What are they going to make? Probably a process unit of something. So something that can be used for something else. For example, chips or maybe a phone. As long as it's usable in another form of technology, that's what we consider in our definition. Second, it requires some level of skill to make, obviously more than just mining the materials itself. Examples of these types of materials are probably like tungsten, copper, uranium, neodymium, all things that are extremely abundant in these countries, in a lot of developing countries. If you're thinking about the global south here. Why is this important? First of all, the global markets need more of this stuff. We're going into a field, into a market, into economy, a global economy where technology is becoming the predominant factor of deciding where the money goes to. And so obviously then, if we're able to fill this new niche, this is going to be something that is really good. The second thing is that there are only a few suppliers of these sorts of chips. Like we think about Taiwan, we think about a couple of the small processing units in America as well, but they're very, very small and very, very localized. So if we're able to be a major competitor, this is obviously a good thing. The third thing is that, yes, like I just explained, this is incredibly niche. Only a couple places are able to do it, but those places don't have rare earth minerals. Those places had to have rare earth minerals transported to them. So we obviously increase efficiency with our model. There's less travel time, there's less risk because of keeping them in storage, because of oxidation, and things like pirates stealing them when you go over there. Okay, what do we think these companies are going to do? First of all, they're going to work with the federal government really well. They're going to adhere to international law. Third, they're going to have huge amounts of transparency with everything they do. Everything is going to be open file for everyone to be able to see. And they're obviously going to pick the more trustable companies when doing this, because you do have a level of bargaining power, because not every country has rare earth minerals. And so they're coming to you with offers. Think about China, right? They're offering to give you so much stuff. Why on earth would you choose an American company which you know is going to exploit you and not give you anything? I think the governments are probably going to be a little less corrupt. Why? Because they want to increase their legitimacy. So what do we think these developing countries look like then? First of all, there's obviously a lot of extreme exploitation in the mining, right? There are bad working conditions. They're enslaved labor in the hot sun. This is obviously not good. And why? Because it's run by these local corrupt industries. Second, they easily attract FDI, and you have a lot of choice power, like I just explained before. Third, the minerals are incredibly rich. They're highly abundant. They're not in forests because they don't really exist in the global south. They have low biodiversity, obviously, if it's in a fudging cave or in a mountain, and they haven't really been mined or dug for very, very long. Like, yes, we know it has been, but it hasn't been mined for, 1,000 years. It is only a relatively new industry that has come up as a result of, the Industrial Revolution. And there are always others nearby as well. So if they run out, these companies can still go to other nearby countries to get these minerals. So this really shouldn't be a problem. What is the process going to look like implementing this model? It's going to be pretty fast infrastructure development, and as we've seen across a lot of these countries already, they have huge amounts of capital to be able to do this, so we don't see why it won't be done in the most efficient way possible. Second, training is going to be provided. Why? Because obviously mining is a lot different from making and processing units, and there is not going to be a lot of foreign aid coming over, or like foreign workers coming over, because why on earth would someone in China move over to Africa just to process units? That actually just doesn't make sense. Third, there's probably going to be decent working conditions, right? Because if the place is really, really dirty, you're going to have really, really bad chips. Chips are incredibly delicate. Everything needs to be incredibly sterile, so that obviously means that the working conditions are going to be good. Let's look at economic growth. Look, we have 5 reasons for this. First of all, these factories require work. It's not difficult to do the training, right? Teaching someone how to manufacture a chip isn't necessarily that hard when you have a lot of capital to be able to do it. Second, that there's no reason for there to be foreign labor, as I've just explained before. And third, you need to be able to speak the local language, because when you go to your local diamond dealer or whatever to be able to do business with them, if it is someone who is Chinese and who's gone over to Tanzania, for example, how on earth are they going to be able to communicate and actually do business? So they obviously have incentives to hire local workers. Second, they want to capitalize on this niche. 3 reasons for this. First of all, because lots of the companies want to come. They know this is an incredibly profitable area, a new market that is evolving where you have the minerals right next to your processing units. There's obviously something that these companies want to capitalize on. And so you have a lot of choice to be able to do that. They see the efficiency there. Second, because of the protection from other government taxes in Western liberal democracies, which usually are very, very punitive on these companies. So coming to the global south, where maybe they probably get some tax benefits and tax relief, having a corporation there is probably quite good. Third, they have to come and build, right? Think about the China example I used before, right? Roads need to be built so you can transport all of these goods. These homes and cities need to be aided in development so that more people can live closer to the places where they were. Schools so that the people can send their families over and they don't have to travel long distances and they don't have to decide between their family or their job. And hospitals so that they can be healthy, so that they can work more. It's not exploitation. It's making sure that your employees are healthy so that they can do the best work. Then, other industries are obviously attracted as well, because there's decreased moving time. Where the money goes is where the business is, and obviously that's easy for networking as well. And since you're already legitimized, other industries for technology are going to be attracted. Fifth, that the training is obviously going to be required too. There's different fields to the norm, which obviously means you need more training and new ways of doing stuff. What is important then? First of all, you get more bargaining power and legitimization. This is huge on scale, because it means that you can bargain for other things as well. More political power, more ability to get other industries in here, and more ability to bring in people who are smart so that there is a better economy as well. Second, job creation. And this is really, really good, because this is such an urgent issue. There are not enough jobs to go around, especially when it's just this menial labor. And so by increasing the amounts of infrastructure there, the people who build it, the people who work in those factories eventually obviously get jobs. More infrastructure is really clear. More hospitals, more schools, all of the people who are vulnerable obviously get benefited there as well. More skilled decrease amount of stereotypes, because we were known for being a backwards mining country, but now that we're known for technological advancement, this is obviously going to decrease stereotypes for us. Okay, let's get on to decrease exploitation. 4 things here. First, because things are cheaper and because there is increased competition between these companies, they obviously want to offer better working conditions. Second, better work environment. I already explained it needs to be incredibly clean. It needs to be incredibly safe in order for you to make these chips. And so that's an incentive that exists for these companies. Third, corporate social responsibility. Western media heavily scrutinizes companies that go over to the global south, and so it's really easy to find out if there's mass exploitation. The benefits of this are clear. You get more time to spend with your friends, your family, your community. You're more healthy, so you can have more kids. You don't have to send your kids to work. You just get to live longer. Ultimately, what we provide for these developing countries is more job creation, more safety for the people who live there, and a better economy, which makes them a global hub of business.